Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras, here with ILTV's morning briefing.
Cabinet leaders in the Israeli government have just voted unanimously to legalize the Havat Gilad outpost in the West Bank. This outpost was the home of Rabbi Raziel Shevach, the father of 6, who was murdered by Palestinian terrorists in a drive-by shooting last month. This particular outpost has been problematic legally for the state. Israeli forces have actually tried to dismantle it in the past because it was allegedly built illegally without permits on Palestinian-owned land in the West Bank. Palestinian and settlement watchdog groups have condemned the government for politicizing the rabbi's murder by fast-tracking this outpost to legal status. Several Knesset members are also accusing the cabinet of essentially allowing the state to, quote, steal as long as the victim is a Palestinian, end quote. Meanwhile, the government has taken a somewhat stricter approach to the Palestinian structure deemed to be illegally built. Security forces have just demolished a makeshift elementary school for Bedouins in the West Bank, citing a lack of proper permits. The school was funded by the European Union. In the wake of the Islamic State's crippling defeat in Syria and Iraq last year, thousands of former foot soldiers for the terror group are now making their way back to their home countries, including many to Europe. Well, as it turns out, Israel may be involved in a secret coalition with 20 other countries to monitor and track these former soldiers. Nearly 40,000 people are believed to have left their home countries to fight in the Islamic State in the last 4 years. The secret anti-terror pact known as Gallant Phoenix aims to keep tabs on nearly all of them by gathering documents, data, even DNA and fingerprints to assess their movements. This is said to be a special United States joint operation with a center based in London, but German media broke the story, which says that 21 countries have signed a secret pact to share all intel between them, and named only Israel and Germany in the deal. Many former Islamic State fighters pose serious security threats upon their return. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has hinted in the past that Israeli intelligence has helped Europe dodge 9/11-style terror attacks in the past. This secret pact could very well be what he was referring to. Despite Palestinian Authority President Abbas's hopes to cut the United States out of the picture of peace negotiations with Israel, King Abdullah II of Jordan said Sunday that, quote, "We cannot have a peace process or a peace solution without the role of the United States," end quote. Further, against earlier protestations to Trump's Jerusalem recognition in December, Abdullah is now stating that he'd, quote, like to reserve judgment because we're still waiting for the Americans to come out with their plan. Abbas, on the other hand, has been going recently to the EU and the United Nations to try and receive unilateral recognitions of statehood and membership in international forums. In fact, he's expected to ask for these things specifically later this month in an upcoming address to the United Nations Security Council. Abdullah, however, is adamant in his position, saying, quote, "I think we have to give the Americans the benefit of the doubt and all work together," continuing that, "If it's not a good plan, I don't think we've got a plan B at this stage." As the Israeli police continue their corruption investigations, Welfare and Labor Minister Haim Katz, as well as several high-ranking officials from the Israel Aerospace Industries, or IAI, have now been recommended for indictment. Katz is former head of IAI's workers' union, while the other suspects include the current head of the union, members of the IAI board of directors, and even Katz's own son, Yair. Katz is suspected of fraudulently obtaining benefits, fraud and breach of trust, extortion, and intimidation. Similar to the Prime Minister, however, Katz is denying all charges, saying the recommendation to indict comes from a, quote, baseless and bizarre investigation, and that it's clear to him that, quote, common sense and logic would prevail at the state attorney's office and that a decision will be made not to indict, end quote. As for the recently passed police recommendations bill, which bars the police from giving unsolicited indictment recommendations against high profilers, it doesn't apply, as the investigation has been ongoing since before the bill passed into law. Chicago, Illinois is in for a very divisive congressional vote this coming November, as the only Republican nominee so far is set to be Holocaust-denying American neo-Nazi and America First committee head Arthur Jones. The 70-year-old Jones is an unrepentant and unambiguous anti-Semite who calls the Jewish state, quote, racist criminal Zionist Israel, holds annual dinners for Hitler's birthday, calls the Holocaust a Jewish international extortion racket and the, quote, blackest lie in history, and even blames the September 11, 2001 attacks on the American Jewish lobby. In fact, he has no love for President Trump either, as he accuses the president of surrounding himself with, quote, hordes of Jews, including a Jew in his own family, that punk named Jared Kushner, end quote. The ADL has strongly condemned Jones, and even the Republican Party has been desperately trying to distance itself from Jones's platform. Tim Schneider, the chairman of the Illinois Republican Party, said unequivocally that, quote, the Illinois Republican Party and our country have no place for Nazis like Arthur Jones, and we strongly oppose his racist views and his candidacy for any public office, including the 3rd Congressional District, end quote. Assuming that Jones isn't disqualified over legal objections like he has been in previous years, He's set to face off this coming general election against either Democratic incumbent Representative Dan Lipinski or Democratic intra-party challenger Marie Newman.
That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.